All right, man, peace. So, brothers, there's a big rematch coming up this Saturday night between Mr. Jermell Charlo and Mr. Tony Harrison. And I remember after their original fight last December, I received a lot of messages from brothers asking me what I thought of that fight because I never got a chance to do an aftermath video for their original bout. I did score the fight for Harrison, 6 rounds for him, 5 rounds for Charlo, 1 round even. I had Harrison up 6-3-1 going into the last 2 rounds, where I thought that Charlo started to make a very furious comeback, but it was not enough because he did not get the decision. Coming into this rematch this Saturday night, I believe that Mr. Tony Harrison is going to have to be far more authoritative in the ring if he hopes to score another victory. If he does, most likely by decision in this upcoming fight. We know that Charlo, both the Charlos, Jermell and Jermell, are angry fighters. They utilize a lot of dark force energy to galvanize themselves for the fight. And there are different types of fighters who use different types of energy. They happen to utilize the dark force energy. Other fighters like Roberto Duran, Mike Tyson, Marvin Hagler, Sonny Liston, etc., George Foreman, also would try to draw energy from that anger, that rage, and hope that it would result in a victory in their fight, most likely by a devastating knockout. Tony Harrison is more of the matador type fighter, but he is going to have to put the pedal to the metal a bit more if he hopes to get another victory, because the judges are going to be looking to give the fight to Charlo if they can, because he's still the A-side fighter, and that was a very close decision that Charlo lost in their original bout. So anyway, they're going to talk about it. I'm going to chime in.
Well, for many, it was a controversial decision. For what it's worth, the numbers do side with Jermell Charlo, who led in nearly every statistical category in a fight that featured no knockdowns.
I thought that Charlo threw a lot of hard shots. He was very aggressive, but he did not throw enough jabs. And I believe that's going to be the key to his victory in this upcoming fight. He's going to have to try to nullify Tony Harrison's jab, because Tony was able, I won't say to dominate the fight with his lead jab and also with his counter jab, but he was able to keep Jermell Charlo off balance constantly throughout the fight. And he almost started to take away a lot of Jermell's offense in the middle rounds, because every time Jermell Charlo would attempt to step to him and be aggressive, Harrison would just jab and shift his feet. And that's another thing. In this fight, Harrison's going to have to move his head a lot more and be faster on his feet. He's also, once again, going to have to be far more aggressive and authoritative with his combinations. Not overly aggressive where he leaves himself in the line of sight for counter right hand or counter left hook, which are punches that Jermell Charlo loves to throw. But he is going to have to be far more cognizant of the fact that the judges are going to be looking for more from him than the judges were looking for from Harrison in the first fight.
It was scheduled for an immediate rematch last June, which fell apart when Harrison suffered an injury. So 6 months later, here we are, just about a week now away from the rematch. Jermell Charlo insists that he was robbed, whilst Tony Harrison believes that the heat between the two has distracted Charlo mentally. Sean, what is at stake for Tony Harrison next Saturday on Fox?
He's got to back up the talk. He has said a lot. He says, I won this fight hands.
It's very obvious that Tony Harrison is looking to score some type of knockout via counterpunch, because he understands that Jermell Charlo is borderline mentally unstable, especially in light of the very controversial decision that he lost. He knows that Jermell Charlo feeds off of his own anger and rage, and he's hoping that that will make Jermell Charlo make a lot of mistakes in the fight, cause him to make bad decisions in the fight that might open him up for a hard counterpunch.
And I'm going to crush you again. He has to back that up. More importantly than the belt in this fight is his reputation. He says that I don't feel like I'm getting my just due. He's got to back it up. He's got to come in there, show up, show out, and win this fight hands down. And that's the way he gets his respect as a champion.
Do you agree with Tony that Jermell has gotten too emotional about this fight?
Jermell always gets emotional. Both he and his brother are very emotional fighters. To be quite honest with you, they're both pretty obnoxious in their post-fight interviews, so on and so forth, but you can use that energy against him. Anger is like a fire. It can either be used to warm your home and provide light, or it can burn your house down if you're not careful. Cus D'Amato basically made an analogy very similar to that well over 40, 50 years ago when he was training his fighters. So Jermell Charlo has to understand that. Tony Harrison knows that that can be a weapon for Jermell, and it could also be a weapon that he can use against Jermell.
I do and I don't. I mean, I do get it, but you got to understand, this is his first defeat. And it was a controversial, decision where he thought he won the fight. So he's always an angry fighter. He's always fights with that passion.
Yeah.
So I want to change it as he's fighting passionately. He wants his fight bad, and yeah, he might. I think he lost the first battle, which is the trash talking. And I think Harrison.
He definitely lost the first battle. Tony Harrison has him like a yo-yo. He just playing with him.
He took that hands down, but at the end of the day, it's about the fighting inside the ring.
Yeah.
And you're right. Harrison is doing a lot of talking, which I respect. He is the champion. He hasn't reserved the respect that he earned that fight, and that's why he's doing it. But it's time to do it inside the ring.
Did either of you two think that Tony lost the first fight?
I thought the fight was just. I thought it was a fair decision. And the way I looked at it, I said Tony is outboxing Jermell Charlo, but Charlo is being more aggressive. And I thought that if they gave the fight to Tony, it had to be because of the boxing. If they gave the fight to Charlo, it had to be.
Sometimes you gotta lose to win. And I think Charlo lost his fight, and he won a lot mentally. He's gonna come back stronger than ever.
Yeah, as of right now, I'm going to pick Jermell Charlo to win this fight. Would it surprise me if Tony Harrison wins another decision? No, it wouldn't. But to be quite honest with you, I think that Tony Harrison felt like he was lucky to win the last fight. I truly do. I'm not saying that he thought he lost, per se, because I don't think he lost. But I think he feels like he was lucky to get the decision. I want to see how much better of a fighter he's going to appear to be in the rematch, because he's going to have to be better than he was in the first fight to even get a decision over Jermell. Maybe he thinks that he can stop Jermell. Tony has a good punch. He has good pop. But sometimes he can get intimidated when he's in the ring against higher level fighters. And he can start to go into a shell against aggressive fighters. And sometimes he can start to get beat around the ring. He is a bit chinny. That's why I state he's going to have to move his head a lot better in this fight than he did in the previous fight. If you're Jermell Charlo, the first thing that his team has to be telling him is that you have to jab more. Tony Harrison out-jabbed him thoroughly in that first fight. Jermell needs to take away Tony's jab by jabbing when he jabs, moving his head out of the line of the jab, trying to counter with an overhand right over the top, maybe a hard right hand to the body. He has to take the jab away from Tony Harrison. If he doesn't, it's going to be another 12-round fight that could go either way. The keys for Tony Harrison, as I've already mentioned, utilize that jab once again, lead with it, counter with it like you did in the first fight, but you're going to have to follow that jab up with more combinations. And tie Charlo up. We already know that he's angry. Tie him up, frustrate him, hope that you can get him to try to foul you or do something stupid, maybe have some points taken away, things like that. But you definitely want to be the boss in the ring. I'm not quite sure if Tony was the boss in the first fight. I just think that he was crafty in the first fight. It's going to take more than being crafty to win the rematch. He's going to have to do a better job of appearing as if he's aggressive. He does not necessarily have to be aggressive. If you're not a come-forward fighter, don't be someone that you're not. But at least appear to be someone who's trying to take the fight away from Charlo. Because in the minds of the judges, Charlo is still champ. Because the victory that Harrison got in the first fight was not authoritative enough to look at Harrison as the new champ. So he still has to approach this fight like he's the B-side and try to take it from Charlo.
I feel.
Well, there are three widely recognized sanctioning bodies in boxing, the WBC, WBA, and IBF, and the big three. Here are the big three belt holders right now in the super welterweight division.
Once again, as we can see here, the PBC says that there are three big belts, the WBC, the WBA, and the IBF. They're leaving the WBO out, not because they hate Terrence Crawford, but because they have ongoing litigation against the WBO sanctioning body.
I mentioned Erislandy Lara is the WBA regular champion as well, all three competing in the PBC. Tony Harrison sitting pretty on that list with his WBC title. It is time to welcome in the WBC super welterweight champ, Tony Harrison. Tony, how you doing? Appreciate your time. Thank you for joining us. Kate, Abner, and Sean here with you.
How y'all doing, man? Thanks for having me.
Listen, you got the win in the first fight, so you obviously found the right recipe against him. Have you prepared any differently for this fight?
I just put my body in the best shape possible. I think I'm great at adjusting, so I think that's probably my best attribute. I'm great at adjusting. I'm a chameleon. You can put me anywhere in the world, I'll be able to blend in. So, you know, it's fighting is just if it comes natural. So it's no real game plan. Just put myself in the best shape possible and put my body through hell. So by the time fight come, I already know what it feels like.
Tony, I believe you, and I agree with you. I think you are a chameleon. I think you can make adjustments. But I think, personally, one adjustment you need to make is taking control of this fight more than you did in the first one.
I agree with you, sir.
Do you agree with that, and is that something you guys are working on?
I think that's every fight for me. I think every fight I want to be the ring general. So,
in other words, you guys are not working on that for this fight. Tony Harrison, I hope that you're not one of these guys who's going to talk all this shit before the fight, and then the fight comes and you show yourself to be someone who was just happy to get a belt and appear as if you're giving up after 2 rounds when Jermell Charlo comes out like a bat out of hell. I hope that you're not one of those guys. I hope that you're training for a war, at least mentally, so that when you get into that ring and that dude comes at you like a dragon, you don't back down too much, because you are going to have to show him that you're the man in the ring. You just cannot allow him to beat you around the ring, because that's what he's coming out there to try to do.
I think that's something I think I practice on, all the time. Not even in boxing, just in life, just being the general, and trying to lead everything the right way. And I think if I can be triple time the general that I was the first time, and it would be more decisive to everybody in the world.
Jab more to the body too. Jab more to the body. Move your jab. You're gonna have to keep him at bay with your jab, but also follow it up with hard right hands, man. And don't be scared to hold every once in a while, especially after you get a good combination off. You want to frustrate that dude.
Tony, question. Do you think you won the battle, the mental battle already? And how important do you think that is, this fight?
You know what? I think he's mentally weak. I don't think it's a hard thing to do.
I won't quite say that Charlo's mentally weak per se, but he is someone that you can get to. Now, certain people out there might be saying, well, isn't that the same thing? No, not necessarily. I think that a mentally weak person is someone who crumbles under pressure. Just because you can get a reaction out of someone does not make them necessarily mentally weak. Sometimes it just means that there's someone who is extremely competitive and they're going to come at you harder. Many times you can use that fire against them.
So I think the whole world's seen every press conference, every Instagram, back and forth, every Twitter, whatever it was. I think the whole world's seen it, and the whole world know that I'm destroying that boy tooth and nail. I'm ripping him to pieces mentally. I don't even think you need to ask me that question. And
no, I have to, because I get what you're saying, but he is an angry fighter, and this is not just against you. Any fighter he fights is yes.
That's the thing. Like he's not angry. He's facade, and he's just emotional. And
that might be part of it, but to Abner Martis' point, he does use that dark side energy. And what you'll find many times, especially with great matador type fighters who understand the psychological profile of the dark side fighters, they will purposefully try to make them angrier, like Ray Leonard did against Roberto Duran in their rematch, or like Muhammad Ali did against Sonny Liston, against Joe Frazier, against George Foreman. You want them to get into such a rage that it will cause them to make mistakes.
I want the world to believe in the hype train that he just some kind of killer, but he's not.
Hey, Tony, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Tony, I got a question for you. I feel like your power is in your back pocket. I feel like people didn't see the power in the first fight. Do you?
Because he was not stepping up after he lands those jabs. He's going to have to step in and not be scared of the counter, but of course be responsible.
You gave him your best punch in the first fight?
You know what? No, I mean, I think I was playing a mental battle with myself. I think I was on, coming up short in my first title fight, and then getting it again. I think I was on pins and needles. Yeah, I think I was in pin. It wasn't even him. I think I was just, at certain points of the fight, just saying, get past this, get past that. But I've never in life lived like that. So, but that's what makes me so scary, and that's what makes me so confident. That's why I'm talking. I'm walking how I walk, because I'm confident. I'm 100% confident that I can stop this boy.
You can stop him as long as you use your footwork. You're going to have to catch him in an awkward position. I'm not quite sure if your feet are fast enough to catch him totally off balance, but you're going to have to move your head and your feet better than you did in the first fight. And once again, follow up those good jabs with a hard right hand and a left hook. You might be able to knock him down. You might be able to shake him up. We'll see. As of right now, I'm going to pick Charlo because I'm not that confident in some of the rhetoric from Tony Harrison. We're going to find out in the first couple of rounds if he came to fight or if he's just happy with winning the first fight.
You already talked to us about your preparation. What about Jermell's preparation? Because obviously he will have gone away, watched tape. What do you think he will look to do differently against you this time that he didn't manage to do in the first fight?
He's going to look to take away his jab because that was Tony Harrison's main weapon in the first fight. So he's probably going to try to jab when Tony Harrison jabs. Or he's going to move his head out of line and try to counter him with a right hand, either to the head or to the body. Try to step around him and see if he can catch him with something else. The problem that Charlo had in the first fight was that he was throwing too many lead hooks. Too many hook right-hand combinations instead of jabbing when Tony Harrison jabbed. Tony was just countering him with jabs and with straight right hands the entire night, taking a couple of steps to the left or circling. And that's what made the fight so close. Basic shit that Jermell Charlo should have been able to nullify, that I'm pretty sure that they've worked on over the course of their camp in the build-up for this fight. So that's going to be the modus operandi of Charlo and his team. Take away Harrison's jab, or try to.
Well, you know what? A zebra don't change the stripes, so I think we asking a zebra to become a gorilla. So, you know, this has been the same Jermell fight in and fight out. I think he just fought somebody that he couldn't stop. He fought somebody that he couldn't. He hit with the same shots he was hitting everybody else with and didn't knock him out. So I just think he's fighting somebody that's just strong mentally. I think I've shown that getting up twice and coming back to winning the BBC title. So I think he's fighting somebody that's just mentally strong, just been through it all, and I'm super resilient. So I think if you look at the fight, man, he did everything he could. He tried to hit me with the best shots. He hit me with a couple good shots. Never stumbled me not one time. If you watch it closely, man, a lot of those times I was laughing at him, smiling at him when I was holding him and I was talking to him in his ear. You know, so it was a fun night for me, man. So the animosity is so high and it's so anticipated that, you know, I got to step on the gas now.
If you step on the gas, you'll win. Once again, I'm just not quite sure if you're going to do it. You're talking a hot one right now. We'll see in the first 2 rounds how much of a chance Tony Harrison is willing to give himself. But if he follows the instructions that I give him, that being step on the gas after those hard jabs, I want to see how Charlo tries to take away his jab, though.
What does a second win against Charlo do to you?
For me, man, I still don't think I get the respect I deserve. I told Mauricio, after I beat him again, send me another belt. I just give me another belt and then let me start being a WBC champ from that day forward, because I just want the respect. That's all I'm here for.
You have to get a dominant win because, I mean, we have to agree the first fight was a close fight. So I believe that's why a lot of people did not give you the respect or you know, that you deserve as a champion that you are today.
Yeah, because the belief was he did not really take Charlo's belt, that it was quote-unquote given to him.
Respect me for doing it again and coming off a year's layoff, not taking nothing in between, telling Al, like, let's go ahead and set that up. I'm going to show y'all why Tony Harrison is Tony Harrison.
Well, brother, I tell you what, if you're able to dominate Charlo coming up this Saturday night, you'll get all the credit in the world.
Absolutely. Nothing but respect from the studio. Tony, we really appreciate your time. Best of luck next week. God bless.
Take care.
Thank you.
Okay, so now we're going to jump ahead to Jermell Charlo's interview.
Welcome back. We're about to welcome in the man who takes on Tony Harrison next week on Fox in a championship rematch. Let's say hello to a former WBC super welterweight champion, Jermell Charlo. Jermell, good to see you. We heard that you weren't in Brooklyn for Jamal's fight. Was that the first time that you've missed one of your brother's fights in person?
I mean, we missed each other fights before, you know, coming up in the game, but I'm locked and loaded. I'm ready. I didn't want to get in that atmosphere of, you know, fight fans just yet. And, you know, I'm ready to go.
Let's jump right into the fight, Jermell. I'm hyped about this fight. One thing that's said about this fight is he's saying that he's got the upper hand from you, against you from a mental standpoint. He's, you know, saying that you're emotional and all that, blah, blah, blah. What I want to know from you right now is, how do you feel going into this fight?
I feel real good, Sean. Like, you know, being a boxer, and you just understanding when you got, like, you know, like, so much opponents can do, is, you know, so much that he can do and so much that he can't do. It kind of don't all of that talking and stuff is just, I guess, it's good selling points for him, but it doesn't matter. I feel good. I'm in shape. I'm so conditioned. I'm so clear mentally minded. I just got my mindset on just going in this fight, handling my business, and enjoying the rest of the year. Like, you know, it's that fight where get it over with, and then we go to work. And
okay, so good. So then that means no excuses if you lose this fight, Jermell Charlo. Because according to you, you're mentally clear, you're in great condition, so on and so forth.
Fun. Yeah. You know, that get it over with, then we have fun. Make weight, then the fight is here. It's like, I can't wait till weigh-ins.
Nice. And that leads to my next question. I want to ask you, how has your life been? I just want to say, not your life been after the loss against Harrison?
I mean, like, it just taught me another world. Like, it just, like, opened doors for me. I felt like it was just a bigger opportunity for me.
Brother, be for real. After you lost that decision, you went through some rough times mentally. It's okay. Now you have the opportunity to redeem yourself.
You know, it didn't really change. Like, it just got better, you know, like.
Stop lying.
It got better. I got more, it's just like more fans, more love, more support. You know, I didn't have a loss where, like, other guys in the weight division, they losing. You know, I'm controversial. It's weird. You know, the loss that didn't affect me. It didn't matter to me. I got to bounce back from something that I got to prove. You know, it's different having to prove a point and having to lose on something that I actually did wrong. All I got to do is step up my game a lot more than what I did 2 fights ago.
You have to use your jab more. That's pretty much all that you're going to have to do. If you make sure that you throw at least, I say 20 to 25 jabs around, make sure that you do that, you should be able to win this fight, unless he knocks you down or stops you. But that was the main key that he utilized against you. He just thoroughly out-jabbed you. He was leading with his jab better than you, and he was countering with his jab better than you. And every once in a while, he would counter with a hard, straight right hand in between those wide punches that you were throwing. So if you jab him to the body and to the head, you have faster feet than him. You have to utilize your footwork. If you do those things, you should win the fight, at the very least by decision. Might be able to stop him. Who knows?
2 fights. I get better every fight.
Something that speaks to me right now is knowing that you didn't go to your brother's fight. Speaks on how focused you are for this fight and how well prepared you are for this fight. Training camp, is this the toughest and the hardest you've trained for a fight as a professional?
I think, yeah, like as a professional, just being in a situation where I had to, like, tune out a lot of things, but I was already tuning out things, just knowing that they didn't even have to ask me, did you go to your brother fight? It was, nah, I'm in camp. Like before, it was, yeah, I'm out there, I'm hanging out. Like, nah, ain't no hanging out. It's not because I'm overly focused. It just, honestly, just straight up, like, nah, I got something else that I got on my mind right now
Yeah, brother, that's called being overly focused. There's nothing wrong with that. You should be overly focused on something that's that important. You cannot lose 2 straight fights to that guy. Or you might get knocked back to the back of the line when it comes to opportunities to get a belt back. I will do you a favor because you have an outsized personality. They always want fighters with outsized personalities to be belt holders, but still, to lose 2 straight fights to Tony Harrison, Tony's going to move on to somebody else. He's going to fight a couple of bums before he even thinks about giving you another chance, if you were to lose this next fight to him.
Be strongly focused on attacking something differently. I'm coming in this fight right now, like, you know, it ain't no do or die situation for me. It's coming to...
No, actually, it is a do or die situation for you. I'm pretty sure that you understand that. Even if you're trying to act relaxed on television, you know that this is a do or die situation for you. You cannot lose 2 straight fights to Tony Harrison, bro.
Show the world, Jermell, Charlo, the other twin, the little twin. This is my standout breakout time. I'm going to take advantage of my opportunity.
Nice. Jermell, do you think you need to do more? And what exactly do you need to do to get this win?
Yes, he has to throw more punches, particularly jabs. He's become a little bit too knockout hungry since he started knocking guys out about 5 or 6 fights ago. He needs to get back to breaking his opponent down.
You know, to be honest with you, I have to sit back and I have to, like, what could I I have done, or what are things that I have thought about that when I overlook the fight and say, I could have made it more impressive to win this fight, to make me come out and win. I added those things before camp started. If I needed something in the gym that I needed to add to my gym, I added it before I started camp to get ready for this fight, and then I incremented it while I was in camp.
I think the brother means implemented it, but that's okay. I just hope that he remembers to implement that jab come this Saturday night.
Really appreciate you sharing with us like that. I know it's a busy time, a bunch of media, so thank you very much. Best of luck in the fight.
Listen, thank y'all so much.
But anyway, that's basically it on that. As of right now, I'm going to have it as Jermell Charlo by decision coming up this Saturday night. But would it shock me if Tony Harrison were to win by decision? No, it would not really shock me, but it would probably happen if Jermell Charlo comes into the ring so emotionally unstable that he forgets his game plan, because I'm pretty sure that his trainer is telling him the same things that I'm saying, that he has to throw more jabs, he has to set up his combinations more, he has to be more active, he has to jab to the body more. Things like that are going to impress the judges as opposed to just hunting for the knockout, which in my view is what cost him the last fight. When it comes to Tony Harrison is going to have to be far more authoritative when he throws his combinations. The jab was great, the counter jab was great. Getting Charlo off balance every once in a while with his footwork was nice, but his footwork's going to have to be a bit faster, a bit crisper. He's going to have to step in more, throw harder right hands, following him up with left hooks to the body or to the head, hold, frustrate Charlo, might even be able to get a stoppage. Those are the keys for Tony Harrison. But as of right now, I'm going to choose Charlo by 12-round decision. So peace.